supporting him for governor of New York State on November 2nd.
Thank you. First, let's hear a big round of applause for Kelly Conlon and her leadership and everything that she does. Kelly is my hero, and I also want to applaud Naral for all the great work they've done on behalf of women and women's advocacy. Let's give Naral a round of applause. I am personally so excited and pleased to receive this endorsement. It means a lot to me. I've had a long-standing relationship with Naral. We've worked on a lot of projects together. Unfortunately, we have even more to do going forward. The truth is, the fight for women's equality is not over. There is still a glass ceiling in society, and we will not rest until that glass ceiling is shattered. A woman's right to choose still needs to be protected. As Kelly said, it's hard to believe that in 2010 we would still be fighting this battle, but we are. Literally in these elections, my opponent has a very extreme position on this issue, where not only is he against a woman's right to choose, he's even against a woman's right to choose in the case of rape. He's even against a woman's right to choose in the case of incest. And that is a frightening position from a woman's point of view and from a society's point of view at large. And it's hard to even imagine in New York State in 2010 that this could be the political discussion. My opponent, however, has a host of out-of-touch positions. My opponent believes that when it comes to public school children in failing schools, that they should be taken out of their home and sent to state boarding schools so they can be conditioned. My opponent thinks that when it comes to families who are on welfare, they should be sent to work camps at retrofitted state prisons to learn hygiene. When it comes to illegal immigrants, as he says, my opponent says the state police should be redeployed to New York City to arrest the illegal immigrants. My opponent says the best form of government is a benevolent dictator. A benevolent dictator. Just think about that. I'm still support that old-fashioned form of government called democracy. But a benevolent dictator, in many ways, my opponent now wants to dictate to women. My opponent wants to dictate to women what they should do in the unfortunate circumstance that they're raped, what they should do in the unfortunate circumstance of incest, what they should do with their bodies, that society should dictate to women. Well, there will be no dictating to women in the state of New York. A woman's choice should govern, period. And choice will win this election in November. I want to thank Kelly, I want to thank the Naral board and all the members of Naral for their support today. Thank you.
In recent memory, no. That's why I said that I think that what you're seeing in New York is reflected around the country, where you have candidates who hold the most extreme positions, feeling like they can posit themselves as acceptable to people of New York and pull one over on them, and that we won't notice and we won't stand up for the right to choose. Well, the opposite is true, which is why we're putting so much energy into educating people about Carl Palladino's position on choice. In the past, what you've seen is even Republicans in New York have held fairly moderate views. As you know, in the legislature in Albany, Naral has been able to work across the aisle with Republicans and Democrats to pass important legislation. But under Carl Palladino's leadership, that will no longer be the case, which is why we're supporting Andrew Cuomo so strongly in this election.
Josh, I would say ditto to what Kelly said. You know, on most social issues, this has been a moderate state. Democrats or Republicans. They've taken moderate positions. Issue of choice, I think Democrats and Republicans, most have been moderate, support a woman's right to choose. That's been the political position in this state. This really is an exception. This is extraordinary. To me, it's frightening. I think it's a response to the time. As you heard from Kelly, it's not just Palladino. It's many people on the ticket. And this is a political view that is just out of touch with the people of the state. This does not represent the people of the state, Josh. They do not believe or support these positions. The challenge for us in a few weeks is to now inform the people of the state exactly what the platforms are, what I believe, what Carl Palladino believes, same on the other races. But I can tell you this, their thinking, their political positions are clearly not in step with the majority of New Yorkers.
Mr. Cuomo, the other day when you were here for the Mayor Bloomberg endorsement, you misspoke that you voted for Mayor Bloomberg. Could you clarify that?
Yes, I was misspoken. I was not registered to vote in the city of New York. I spent a lot of time in the city. I've worked in the city. I participated in mayoral politics in the city, but I could not vote. I was registered in Westchester.
So you support federal?
Your campaign seems to have had some fresh energy. You've spoken out more on Mr. Palladino, about the Tea Party, done more public appearances, more interviews. And I wonder, to which campaign manager should we attribute this turnaround strategy?
The Nick Confessori campaign manager. I think you inspired me there.
Who is your campaign manager?
I think Joe Prococo. I think, for you, Nick, you've been covering the race, quote unquote, for a long time. It seems in politics that these races go on for a long time. And I spent a lot of time in the summer moving around the state, etc. But really, I only had a specific race. I only had an opponent when the primaries were done just a couple of weeks ago. So for me, the race became real just a couple of weeks ago when we had Mr. Palladino win as the Republican opponent. Up until then, frankly, it was unsure who was going to be the candidate, Mr. Lazio, Mr. Palladino. And it was also unclear what positions and platform Mr. Palladino was going to take. He didn't have many public positions or issues, as you know. So we've only been at it for about a couple of weeks. So the specificity, once we had an opponent and we had a specific agenda that we could compare our campaign to, I think that's when you start to get energized.
Just a quick follow-up on that.
By the way, the RV trip over the summer was fun, as you know, and that was energizing too. But the dialogue became sharper when we had an actual opponent.
In public polls, when you ask people, pollsters ask people, what are the issues that will drive this race? Abortion rights is not really high up there, and even how to deal with welfare and education in the sense you're talking about aren't really up there. It's really jobs, spending, taxes. So do you think that the campaign's going to be won and lost on the issues that you're raising today?
You know, Nick, I think, and this is going to be a challenge for my campaign and for Kelly and Naral, I think people don't say that choice is an issue because they've been lulled into a false sense of security because, as we were saying before, for many years, there was not a basic question as to whether or not this would be a choice state. New York has been choice. Overwhelmingly, the people support it. Democrats support it. Republicans support it. I can't remember, Nick, the last time you had a major elected official who wasn't pro-choice. I can't remember the last time you had a major position in that politician. So, a major politician in that position. So, I think that's why they don't mention choice right now. Part of what we have to do in this campaign is say, I know you take it for granted, but you better not. Look at this